That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Silo, the directorial debut of Marshall Burnette, which Oscilloscope is releasing May 7th, 2021.
Okay, the basic story is, it's set in like America, farmland type area.
An American farm town.
A farm town. Okay. There's a man named Junior who's played by
Jim Parrack.
He runs...
Of True Blood.
Of True Blood. He runs like a farm that I think like harvests corn, maybe? Because he has like 2 big silos that house a bunch of corn.
I think there's more than 2, but...
More than 2? Okay. So there's Junior, and then Junior's dad, who appears to be suffering from dementia.
Mr. Adler, played by character actor Chris Ellis, who you've seen in tons of things.
Okay. So you have Junior and his dad running this farm. Then we're introduced to a character named Cody. Mm-hmm. His mom takes him to go work at Junior's farm. And we find out Cody's dad has passed due to like a drunk driving accident. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Cody and his friend Lucha go to work at this farm. And Lucha's newer to the role. So Cody's kind of showing him the ropes when Junior has to leave the farm area for a second to go check on his dad at the house. So we have Cody and Lucha, these 2 younger guys, with this older man named Cutter. Mm-hmm. Like he seems to be like a senior citizen. Mm-hmm. And for some reason they have to go into the silo to do something. And
the Cutter makes some comment about how that corn being stored in that silo has turned sour, which has necessitated that. It's not quite explained.
Yeah, so the silos are huge, like many stories tall, so they go up there. And Luca's very hesitant. It appears he's also afraid of heights maybe, but the 3 of them get their asses up there and just dive right into this silo. And they're on like inside on the corn doing something. It looks like they're sweeping corn, I don't know. Lucha stays on the ladder inside the silo, so he's still apprehensive and doesn't jump into the corn. All right, so Junior is at the house when he realizes he doesn't know where his dad is, his senile dad. So then he goes out to the silo and sees that his dad's out there, and the dad has pressed a button to turn on some sort of like suction or vacuum inside the silo. I'm assuming to like get grains out. So that causes the old man Cutter to sink immediately. Like he sinks immediately. Cody also sinks like down to waist level. And then that's when Junior finds his dad and turns off the machine. And then Lucha, who still never got off the ladder, gets out and starts screaming for help. Mm-hmm. So Junior gets up there, sees what has happened. The film is very short. So that happens and we're like a third of the way through the film. Then we have Junior attempting to help, but he can't do much. 911 has been called when the sheriff, who's played by... What do I know the sheriff from?
He's not the sheriff. Frank, he's like the first responder.
Oh, the first responder.
Played by Jeremy Holm, and you know him from House of Cards.
That's right. So the first responder shows up and is attempting to help, but he has a history with Cody, the boy who's like waist deep in the corn, because the first responder and Cody's dad used to be friends, and one night, the night that Cody's dad died, the first responder was with him and they had been drinking, and then that's when the dad died and the first responder guy feels responsible for it. Mm-hmm. So he sort of has that connection with Cody. Then we have Cody's mom, who's made aware of the incident.
Played by Jill Paice.
So she shows up hollering and screaming.
And she works in a nursing home.
She works in a nursing home. Then the fire department shows up. And their response to the incident is different than what the first responder guy wants to do. So they have some tension when the situation with Cody becomes more dire because he sinks further and now he's covered in corn. So then they all just jump in. They're able to get him out using some kind of like tube. And he's alive, the end.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Is there a scene, is it in A Quiet Place where there's also a scene in a corn silo with the children where they're hiding from the monsters in there?
That sounds familiar, but then I want to say it wasn't a corn silo, it was like like just like an airplane hangar. I don't know.
There's another scene in a film, in a recent genre film. I just remembered that, but I can't remember which one. But
okay, so I knew nothing about the grain entrapment is a thing that happens often. Because at the end of the film, there's a card that says, like, this happens, like, so many incidents.
This provides statistics.
Yeah. But the story is very specific. So someone like me who knows nothing about harvesting grains and how dangerous it is to work in these silos, it was a little lost on me, the sort of imminent dread of them, like, because they just the 3 people just jump in the silo without any acknowledgement of like, this could be dangerous. You need to make sure that, you know, you watch out for this. And they even bring along Lucha, who has never been in a grain silo.
I get the sense that it's usually not a problem unless the grain is not settled or and of course, the kind of contrived explanation for why this happens. But they act like it's usually not a big deal.
I'm just going to go through my few little notes. Someone, I forgot who said it, says, I'll go grease the corn head.
Junior said that.
That had me laughing for a while.
Some of the dialogue is, in some of the performances are a bit over the top, which I think are distracting. But the line of dialogue I had written down is, the kid is surrounded by unstable corn.
I also wrote that down. I thought that was funny. Cody, the kid stuck in the corn, has asthma, so that's part of his backstory, along with his dad being dead.
And he's a wannabe heavy metal singer.
When the senile old man, like, because there's this hullabaloo about this kid stuck, and then at one point the old man's like, what did I do? And his son is like, nothing, you didn't do anything.
I think what would have helped a little bit, I kept thinking of, you know, many disaster films, but that movie San Andreas, I think, where Paul Giamatti has that very dramatic way of explaining how everything's going to happen and the world's going to end. It needed kind of something like that, somebody to explain why he can't just be yanked out there.
I agree, because my next note is there are a lot of emotional conversations, but nothing that really helps a lay viewer like myself understand what just happened. The physics behind why this is like so deadly and so difficult to manage is missing. And like I was saying earlier today, I think other types of films like this, like 47 Meters Down or Crawl, there are so many films where it's a very specific sort of environment and incident. But for many of those, we're familiar with how dangerous a lot of these things are. So immediately we're on the edge of our seat. But then with the corn silo, the way they treat the entire environment is so casual. I mean, there is a scene where Cody is showing Lucha like how to lift some, like the hood of some like big piece of machinery, and he says like you have to be so careful or it'll rip your hand off or something. But they jump into the silo like it's nothing. Like they're at the playhouse at McDonald's, and then all of a sudden the old man's dead, which I think it's kind of funny that it happened so fast, and then it's like no one's worried about this old man in the corn. But I guess if he's dead, why worry about it?
But my understanding of people that to extract a corpse from the corn is also very difficult. I would liken it to kind of on the same spectrum as some of the recent cave mining collapse movies, like the one about the Chilean miners, which is not good, with Juliette Binoche as a Chilean empanada sales lady, called The 33, directed by Patricia Regan. Or we watched that one film, because I got sent a DVD copy of it, called Mine 9. You remember that? It kind of felt like that, where it's got some decent things about it, but...
But even those storylines, it's like, we all know how dangerous being in a mine is.
Sure.
So I think that's what's really... And I'm sure if there's a corn farmer watching this video, they'll think I'm so stupid for not knowing how dangerous the corn silo is. But I think it's such a specific device that I needed. Because my final note... Well, my final note is this feels chaotic. Because I don't understand how dangerous the silo is. So then everyone just kind of like shouting and screaming just was... It wasn't outrageous enough to be amusing, but it just felt like, oh, good thing this movie's only 77 minutes long, because I'm kind of over it, and it's like, are they going to pull the boy out or not? Like,
well, they almost needed, it could have been a more fleshed out 90-minute film with a little more character development, which would have helped, because you brought up Coal Miner's Daughter, and how you feel something when this happens in that film. Unlike, I don't really feel like I know Cody or his mother. The
Coal miner's daughter is Sissy Spacek, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she gets her arm caught in the machine, it's just like my heart is like twisted because I feel something for her. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like I have no empathy for these people. It's just, I think we could have done a little more sussing out of the lay of the land, if you will.
Yes.
Just throwing in there that Frank was, you know, partly responsible for their dad dying, and now that her son's fate lies in his hands. It's like,
well, even the asthma, like, I mean, apparently this corn will kill a person with a healthy respiratory system. So I just feel like the dad, the asthma, the senile old man pressing the button, it's just a lot of little things that they're trying to create a story that really is not that.
And I mean, you know, I don't know that anybody's really checking for this film, but I was interested because of, well, the distributor, Oscilloscope, which, you know, kind of has a fine library of films that they distribute. I mean, usually when Oscilloscope buys something, I kind of automatically pay attention to that. But this was fine. And, you know, for a first film, it's got a lot of positive things going for it. I think it looks fine. Mm-hmm. It was shot by a man named Hunter Baker, and I want to add to that Candlestick Maker. But yeah, it's there's nothing innately wrong with it. It's just, I don't know. It felt very like Lutheran, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure what that means.
Like a very middle-of-the-road, Midwestern kind of film.
What would you give it?
2.5 out of 5.
I would give it 2.5 out of 5 as well. Also, don't forget to listen to our podcast, Fish Jelly, on all platforms. We need more listeners. Anything else? No? Well, we do. I want millions. I want millions of people to hear me talk.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. Not really, though. Bye.
Bye.